All right, welcome back to the Boneyard for episode 3 of the night. Tonight we got Jen Minoz on there, and I hope I said that correctly. I made her voice message me her last name so I didn't mess it up. So, Jen Minoz.
Yes, you said that correctly. Thank you.
Perfect. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself? What do you
Um,
do for the Winnipeg music scene?
I am an audio engineer and a producer over at Studio 23. Um, I do work at two music venues as well. I bartend at the Pyramid and the Royal Albert. I'm currently hosting karaoke every Wednesday at the Royal Albert as well. So that's been really fun. And I go to a lot of shows, local shows, and just concerts in general all my life. I honestly can say that music is literally my life.
Excellent, excellent. And before we went on, I did mention that anyone who has watched this episodes that I've done for the Boneyard, Jen's name has come up in a fair share of those videos on her contributions to music in the city and just her spreading the news of the bands and getting everything out there. And obviously, you're working at a studio. Which what kind of bands have you been working with?
Um, well, I just got signed over there this past year in January. So far, we've had Kingsway band there, and they were really fun, really super talented dudes to work with. We have Orvis Thomas in the studio a
Mm-hmm.
lot as well. I haven't personally worked with him yet, but I'm really looking forward to working with him as well. And yeah, just little mini projects here and there that I've been involved in.
Okay.
I can't say too much, but
No,
yeah.
no, no. I get you. Um, so what got you into wanting to do this type of work?
Oh boy. Um, well, when I was really young, I actually really wanted to be a singer. And so I kind of just always went that route to kind of just try to get in a band and whatnot. But as I have mentioned before to you, I am a nervous wreck all the time. So I just kind of had stage fright for the longest time. And I just recently got over it. And so I've just kind of became more confident and whatnot. But no, I mean, I've always just had a really, really big interest in music and just how it's made. I just really wanted to be a part of it and just create music and put it out there for other people to hear and appreciate like I do. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no,
So,
I just it took me a few years, but I did go to school in the pandemic during the pandemic, which wasn't the brightest idea. But I decided to just pull the trigger and just really just get an education in it and see where I could go from there. And now I'm here.
excellent. That's good. So, just like I said before we went live here, we're kind of talking about Winnipeg music scene and how my goal here was to just kind of promote the music scene through the patience of the Boneyard, allowing me to do it and kind of put their bands on hold for a couple of months. So, just give us maybe a rundown of where the Winnipeg scene is at. I've noticed obviously there's a lot of promotions, and maybe it's just people I follow, but it seems like there's a lot more going on in Winnipeg than there has in the past, and maybe it's pandemic related. But for me, I found from my own experience, it started with live at the Roslyn when Riley was doing those. There was
Yeah.
something about that when that started coming to an end. There seems to be this boost in Winnipeg with music and more people are engaged in it. It seems like there's more originals bands than I don't want to say more than cover bands. There's a lot of cover bands, but it seems there's a lot more original bands coming out of the woodworks now.
Yeah, as someone, even before the pandemic, I was very much around the local scene and everything. And Riley was a huge part of, I guess, exposing, Winnipeg and our local scene just out there and just really showing everybody what we're about and the community that we have. So it really did start, I feel, a lot with Riley. And then the pandemic hit, and then we went almost, I think, what was it, 2 years without shows or anything. And yeah, when that was over, I just noticed that like you said, a lot of new bands just are coming up, and a lot of people are just really um, focused on just, I guess, creating original music and putting themselves out there, which I think is amazing. There's a lot of younger bands out there that are really, really good, and just doing their best and pushing forward.
Hmm. What's what bands are you listening to? Like local speaking.
It's funny because people ask me like, "What are your favorite bands?" And I can only say local bands because that's really all I listen to. I drive a summer car that has CDs. It only takes CDs. And so literally whenever I'm out at a show, I'll just pick up an EP and I'll be like, sweet, like another one for my car. But right now I'm listening to Ash and the Arsonists, Exomerita, Northern Royals, Spectre, Ramskull. I mean, just pretty much, yeah, all local.
Yeah, absolutely, and different sound too, right? You go from Ashley Arsonist to Northern Royals to Ramskull. I had Ramskull on a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty heavy band. Great great band actually. Ashley Arsonist had them on too, and one thing I've really noticed with them, and actually, there's another person out there. I won't put his name on the spot, but he said Ashley and the Arsonists are the busiest band in Winnipeg, and it really just seems like they've always got something going on. And we talked about Matt there. Matt's always got something going on. He's got On the Fly as well, and just a big promoter of everything, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
he's a busy guy. Definitely busy guy.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. So yeah,
yeah.
so with don't go
Sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, just with local bands, there's so much out there, and I look back on my like month and a half of having bands on here, and we got Sleepless on here, Ash and the Arson. It's got North. I actually have Northern Royals next week. I think they're actually coming to my house though to do theirs, and then
Oh, nice.
they got their EP release, and I had Omens. Omens was my first one, which Trevor obviously of Jet Set Satellite fame, and having Omens now. I think that whole album is one of my favorite albums of the year so far, and it's so cool to. I've really been listening to a lot more local within the last year, right? And there's some good music coming out, like Ashley Arsonist. That EP's it's fantastic. Ramskull, it's a deep dive. It's heavy music. It's something I haven't really listened to in a few years. But I was telling Dag earlier on the first show of the night here that there's a couple mornings I drive to work at 6:30 and I'd crank Ramskull, and I said there's nothing like starting your day with that.
Really though, I mean, like for me personally, like I said, I my four albums that I have in my car right now are Ash and the Arsonists, Exomerita, Northern Royal, and a Bright Righteous CD that I got there.
Mm.
And so literally morning, night, whenever I get in my car, and sometimes I forget to turn it down, and I turn my car and it's just like and I'm like, whoa. But it's just, I don't know, I enjoy it so much. It's just cool. I
For
find
sure.
sometimes like I'll drive by, like for example, like my friend Dale's place, and I have Exomerita blasting. I'm like, oh hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty cool too, right? Exomerta, and I'm gonna sound like a complete moron by saying this. Are they still active?
Yeah, they had a show not too long ago. I want to say a month or two ago, maybe,
Okay,
at
okay.
Tap House. I'm trying to remember who they were playing with.
I remember listening to an EP of theirs. That was 4 years ago, probably, and
Yeah.
yeah, just fantastic too.
Yeah, I think that they have an album out, or they had some I think acoustic sessions after that they had a
Okay,
little
yeah,
series. Yeah.
awesome. No, they were fantastic. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So I guess just continuing speaking about Winnipeg, obviously, a couple Northern Royals EP release parties coming up August 24th, I think it is. Yeah,
Yep.
August 24th with Omens and the Radiant. Obviously, I picked up my tickets earlier from Evan there. And is that a show that you'll be attending as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
really cool. they had their tickets made differently, and there's like a QR code and everything that you can scan on there, and a map
Mhm.
where the park theater is. I thought that was really cool of them too.
They're pretty fancy tickets, in a day where a day and age where you don't really get physical tickets anymore, right? Everything's kind of just like on your
Yeah,
phone, in your wallet, and kind of miss those old days where you'd get ticket stubs and you'd kind of have them hanging around the house. People were framing their tickets, and it's pretty cool to see a physical ticket like that, and such a cool looking one too. So
definitely, definitely. I do have some ticket stubs from earlier concerts, like in 2000 plus, and I've made them. I've like painted over a canvas and just glued them on there. I have, I think, Foo Fighters, Green Day, Yellow Card, and some other things. But yeah, they're just all kind of like hanging on my wall, just
cool.
memories. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly right. So you've always been a rock person, then, judging by some of the bands you're listing there.
Yes, definitely. I'd say my favorite, I guess, non-local band would be the Foo Fighters. I'm a massive Dave Grohl fan.
Mm,
Yeah.
for sure. Have you obviously saw them in Winnipeg? Have you seen them recently?
No, I did have tickets. They were going to come, I think, a few years ago, but Taylor Hawkins, their drummer, passed, so they canceled that entire tour. I took that passing so hard. I love Taylor Hawkins so much. Took me like a good year and a half to like get over it and not like watch a Foo Fighters concert and just cry when I saw
Yeah,
them.
that
Yeah,
that's one of those modern era, passings that really hit hard on a lot of people, though, right? Like
definitely.
he was such an influence for a lot of drummers out there, and obviously, his back catalog. He played with Alanis Morissette. I'm sure you know all. I don't have to tell you all that stuff. Obviously with Alanis, and I don't think a lot of people realized it was him for quite some time. And you start seeing some people posting about it. And it's like, yeah, no, he's in some of the videos from the Jagged Little Pill era there. So
Yeah, I mean, some people still don't know that Dave Grohl was the drummer of Nirvana, and they're like, "Oh, that's the same dude." And I'm like, "Yes, yes, it is."
so crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just being a music fan, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, speaking of Foo Fighters, yeah, no, it's another band that's kind of stood the test of time. Did you see them at was it Somersault or Edgefest '98? One of
No,
those?
I saw them in 2007, 2008, I believe. They
Mhm.
were at the MTS Center there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they had a huge part of me kind of just deciding to go this music route. I think
Okay.
after I left that concert, I was like, I want to be a part of this, and just kind of started from there at around 17, 18 years old.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess the big thing coming up here is the Loud Awards, right?
Yes.
September 28th.
Exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, September 28th. Yeah, and there's obviously a Matt Corey might have spilled the beans on a show before that on the previous
Oh,
episode. I don't know if it's released, but he just announced it, so we're kind of laughing about that. But
is he doing a show sooner?
he's the night before, so
The night before? Oh, good. Good
yeah,
for him.
he told me that, so I wrote that down. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that even announced yet? And he said, well, I don't know actually. So I left him at that. I said, well, we'll just leave it at that. So he's yeah, so obviously, the conversation I had with him, and obviously with Dag, the first one tonight, just talking about the Loud Awards, what it means to the city, and I've only got a couple episodes coming up still in the next couple weeks that will deal with Loud Award bands. So, but just talking about what it means to the city, and recognizing the bands, and recognizing the fans, and this is where your name came up as well, is the Ambassador Award. What a cool thing to have.
Yeah, it's an honor to even be nominated and be a part of it all. Um, I think that what Dag's doing is so great for the music community here in Winnipeg. I mean, it's really just given bands, up and coming bands, individual musicians and everything, the opportunity to really just get out there and be known, and it's just it's really great. It brings the community together, especially for one night, and it's just really great to see.
Hmm. For sure. Um, I was you're nominated for ambassador, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yeah, oh,
Awesome.
fingers crossed.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? And yeah, just in talking about that, they had a big announcement a few weeks there about a band they were getting, and I know last year they had Econoline Crush. This year they got Voivod. And I guess one thing I asked Dag was like, what goes into that? Do you catch a band on a tour? But he said Econoline Crush was on a tour, but with Voivod, they're just coming out for this. And I think
Oh, wow.
I think he nailed it on the head when he said, people realized last year how serious he was about it by bringing in a band like Econoline Crush. A band that's been around since mid '90s, late '90s, right? And now bringing in Voivod, which is just if you don't listen, if a person doesn't listen to them, you still might recognize the name out there. And for the metal fans, the heavy fans, alternative fans, to know that Dag has gone this far to pull this band in, it just shows appreciation for the people around the city and around Manitoba that are supporting the music right now.
100%. I can't imagine how much work Dag has put into this, but it's definitely greatly, vastly appreciated. I know the community appreciates him. I appreciate what he's been doing. And again, it just brings a lot of recognition to, Winnipeg and our scene and what it's about.
Hmm.
Yeah.
For sure, right? So just about yourself with your studio, we'll kind of go back to where we started. The studio. It's obviously in Winnipeg. Is it fairly new or?
Actually, Studio 23 is in the municipal of St. Anne's. So it's
Oh, okay.
about, I want to say a half hour, just like once you hit the highway.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're actually Studio 23 is nominated for Studio of the Year as well for the Manitoba Loud Awards.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so that's really good. Yeah, no, Studio 23 is amazing. It's fairly new. Jody Hunter, the owner, literally built it from the ground up and just been building and just adding to it ever since. So it's a growing studio, but it's also a very well built and calculated studio.
Awesome.
Um, like the ceilings are slanted, the walls are just parallel. It's just he put a lot of thought into making that studio for sure.
Hmm. And for bands, people I recently talked to, we talked about home recordings and stuff, and home recordings versus going into a studio. And obviously, I made the joke here with you about my makeshift vocal booth behind me that people think is a shower,
Yeah.
but it is a vocal booth. It is soundproofed with thick shower curtains, but it still works. But there's something to be said about going into a studio. Obviously, I haven't been to Studio 23, but I took a tour of the No Fun Club about half a year ago or something. And there's something about being in the studio and being able to record in there. Obviously, I went in and saw the gear, what they had to offer, and just the feeling of being in there. And you talk about slanted ceilings and walls. And I remember being in there, and we went to this one room, and a guy grabbed a sliding door and slid it, and the whole room dynamic changed.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy to think that you can record in a room like this all you want and get a good quality, but there's just something about, here, I'm going to move this sliding door and I'm going to change the entire dynamic.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, we have a sliding door wall as well, and you can hear the difference. And yeah, I think that's mainly the main difference with like being at home. You can definitely capture something amazing and great, but it's also really fun to be in the studio. Everything's placed perfectly to capture that sound, perfectly and designed for how you want it to sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely right. What's obviously, this gets uploaded to Facebook. There's people that will be watching that are in bands, hopefully. um, just for bands out there that are looking to record, is your availability? Is it are you available next couple months, half a year?
Oh, definitely. I'm personally, if anyone wants to, record with me, I will make the time. I will absolutely make the time. I'm sure that Jody would have time as well. It would have to go through Jody and then, we could set up a tour. Of course, if you would like a tour of Studio 23, you're more than welcome. I'd love to give you one as well. But, that's how it pretty much just starts out, is a tour, and then we get you booked in. And yeah, we're pretty much open for the next couple months.
Awesome. I'm not ignoring you. I'm literally just writing all this info down.
No, that's
Where
okay.
where can people get a hold of Studio 23? What is there? Is there a website? Is there a Facebook site people can message into?
Yes, we have a Facebook site. It's just Studio 23 on Facebook. Instagram, same thing, Studio 23. And as well as we do have a website as well, Studio 23 .mb, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will tag those after, and that's fantastic. It's like I said when we started. I was really excited to have you on here just to hear from the viewpoint of of a fan out there, and someone coming out of the studio. And we've been talking a lot about the bands that are on the stage, that are recording, that are promoting their stuff, but we haven't heard from the people that were helping it get to that point, right? And obviously you being a fan, and I, like I said, I've seen your name come up here. Obviously, I've seen your karaoke ads at the Royal Albert there, and that's great. You have the patience of a saint working at a karaoke event.
It's definitely different. I've never ever hosted karaoke before in my life, but my boss was like, "Hey, here's an opportunity. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "I like to sing. Why not? Let's do it." So,
right, you would
yeah.
have to get up there as well. That's great.
Yeah, and again, I do have like that. I'm always kind of nervous, so like going up there and just like being like, "Hey, welcome to the Royal Albert." It's definitely helping me get out of my shell as well too, and just getting over being so nervous all the time around this
Yeah,
stuff.
no kidding, eh?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's great having you on the show tonight. I'm obviously looking forward to I'll get the info out about Studio 23 for anyone who doesn't know about it right now. I'm sure you've had your bands out there. You mentioned a couple, so we'll get that name out there, and I'd love to maybe grab a couple of the band members and head out that way and maybe take a little tour if we could. So.
Absolutely. You're more than welcome to whenever you'd like. If anyone is interested, of course, just message me on Facebook or Instagram, or Jody Hunter as well, the owner.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Well, I appreciate you jumping on tonight and having a little chat about it. And obviously, we'll see you at the no problem. We'll see you at the Northern Royals release party, and then I'm sure we'll see you at the Loud Awards. And cross your fingers. Hopefully, you get that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, you have a great night, and we'll talk later. All right. Thanks for being on the Boneyard.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.